Komabai. Malawi never sleeps, does it? Every week there's a new twist, a new headline, and a new story that makes you ask, Nde Mwumva. And this one? Wow, this one's got the whole nation talking. Munthu Kuzipha Azinamizila Mutharika. Nde Mwumva. Akuti Ofuna Kuzipha Asamangidwe Zinali Uku. It sounds like the title of a political thriller, but no, this is real life Malawian edition. People are whispering, others are shouting, and social media is practically on fire. Some say it's all rumors, others swear there's a bigger hand behind the scenes. But who's telling the truth? And more importantly, what's being hidden in plain sight? Today, on GlobalPulseNewz, we're cutting through the noise and breaking it all down. Bold, factual, and a little bit witty. Because, let's be honest, politics without humor is like sima without relish, dry and painful to swallow. So, let's unpack this drama piece by piece. 7 solid facts, each more shocking than the last. Stay tuned, because this ride, it's going uphill fast. Let's start right there. Munthu Kuzipha Azinamizila Mutharika. The phrase itself sounds poetic, almost too poetic for something so serious. Literally, it translates to a person killing themselves and blaming Mutharika for it. But contextually, it's much deeper. It's become shorthand for suspicion, for the idea that someone's supposed suicide may not have been their own doing. Now, Malawi's social circles, from Blantyre's tea shops to Facebook comment sections, are buzzing with questions. Did someone try to end their life and then twist the story? Or is it the other way around, someone being silenced and their suicide being staged? In the land where politics often dances hand in hand with drama, the term Azinamizila has evolved beyond its dictionary meaning. It's now a weaponized phrase, tossed around by citizens frustrated with how easily serious issues are swept under the carpet. Media houses are cautious, opposition parties are watching closely, and Mutharika himself, freshly reinstated in power, is finding his name trending for reasons no leader enjoys. The public perception? Mixed. Some think the story is propaganda, others say there's a pattern, that powerful people rarely face justice when ordinary citizens vanish or die mysteriously. But who's exactly being accused here? And why does the conversation always seem to circle back to Mutharika's shadow? Let's find out in Fact 2, the political theater behind the headlines. So, rewind the tape a little. After years away from State House, Arthur Peter Mutharika makes a dramatic comeback. He walks onto the podium, hand over heart, declaring a new era of accountability. The crowd cheers, the cameras flash, and everyone's thinking, maybe Malawi's back on track. But here's where the script flips. Not long after his fiery speech about transparency and anti-corruption, stories start surfacing. Whispers about intimidation, people disappearing from online spaces, and this haunting phrase, Munthu Kuzipha akunena kuti azinamizira. Critics are claiming the tone of his speeches has shifted from leadership to warning. Remember his famous line? If anyone acts contrary, I will go after him or her. Never say I never warned you. Powerful words, but also words that echo differently depending on where you stand. To supporters, he's restoring discipline. To skeptics, it sounds like a threat wrapped in policy. Political analysts are calling it the Iron Curtain of Courtesy, where Mutharika smiles for the cameras but sharpens the knives behind the scenes. Whether that's fair or not, perception drives headlines, and headlines drive panic. So, are these stories just political paranoia, or is there more smoke behind this fire? Let's dig into what's actually been verified. Fact 3 is where evidence meets rumor. In this digital age where every phone is a newsroom and every tweet is an exclusive, misinformation spreads faster than truth. And this case, it's the perfect storm. Here's what's confirmed. Mutharika did deliver a no-nonsense inaugural address emphasizing integrity. He did warn against corruption. He did tighten state security. What's not confirmed is any official evidence linking him or his administration to cases of forced suicide or cover-ups. That's right. As of now, there's no legal trail, no police statement naming him, and no verified witness saying the order came from above. But Malawi's history gives people reason to doubt. We've seen cases where politically charged investigations stall mysteriously, files vanish, or suspects go missing. So, while there's no hard proof, the public's trust deficit makes even coincidences look like conspiracies. Experts at the Society of Medical Doctors Malawi and independent investigators are calling for calm, asking media outlets to verify before publishing. But let's be real. In an environment where clicks equal cash, truth sometimes takes the back seat. Still, if there's no concrete proof, how do accusations like these survive and spread? Easy. Power gaps and accountability voids. That's where we go next.
Accountability, Malawi's favorite buzzword and least practiced principle. Everybody talks about it, few actually deliver it. When cases like this surface, everyone plays the blame game. The police say investigations are ongoing, the judiciary says it's complicated, and the politicians, they issue statements saying, we'll look into it, which in Malawi+English often translates to, let's forget about it. The truth is, the system is built in a way that protecting powerful people is easier than protecting truth. It's like the more authority you have, the fewer fingerprints you leave behind. In most democracies, suspicious deaths trigger open inquests, press briefings, and independent reviews. In Malawi, they trigger gossip, tension, and a Facebook war. Civic groups like Human Rights Defenders Coalition, HRDC, are pushing for mechanisms where suspected politically linked deaths are automatically reviewed by neutral bodies, because when justice isn't transparent, fear becomes the law. And let's not forget, even the perception of a leader being involved in silencing critics is enough to corrode democracy from within. But how do these high-stakes power games affect the ordinary Malawian? The taxi driver, the student, the vendor in the market? That's what Fact 5 exposes. Here's something people underestimate. Fear travels faster than facts. When stories like Munthu Kuzipha Azinamizila hit the airwaves, people start editing themselves, not just online, but in real life. Journalists become cautious about asking the wrong questions. Activists choose silence over safety. Even comedians skip political jokes, because in Malawi, humor can sometimes feel like a crime. It's not just paranoia, it's survival instinct. The psychology is simple. If people believe power can erase you, then fear does the rest of the work. No handcuffs needed. Ordinary Malawians start adopting new behaviors, whispering politics, avoiding public debates, deleting tweets. And this silence, it's exactly what authoritarianism feeds on, not through violence, but through exhaustion. But here's the twist. Fear isn't permanent. History shows that when people start uniting, fear turns into outrage, and outrage turns into change. That's why social awareness, like the conversations we're having right now, is a form of resistance. But speaking of leadership, how is Mutharika himself handling all this noise, all these whispers, and all this heat? That's Fact 6, his official stance and strategy. Arthur Peter Mutharika is no stranger to controversy. In fact, he's practically fluent in it. When asked about the rumors, his tone remains unwavering. I am here to restore order, not fear. He frames every accusation as a political attack, designed to distract the nation from real progress. Behind the scenes, insiders describe him as analytical, even detached. He prefers to let rumors die naturally rather than addressing them head-on. Some call it confidence, others call it arrogance. Either way, it's deliberate. His administration has doubled down on corruption, revoking licenses, auditing ministries, and firing officials accused of corruption. On paper, that looks great,
but politically, it also consolidates power, making dissenters nervous. And here's where public relations gets tricky. When you punish corruption and silence critics at the same time, the line between justice and control blurs. Still, Mutharika's loyalists insist he's just doing what others were too scared to do. The opposition disagrees, calling it a war on criticism. So, with both sides digging trenches, what's next for Malawi? Is this political turbulence a storm or a warning sign of something deeper? Let's wrap it up with Fact 7, the big picture.
Every country reaches a moment where it must decide, do we face the truth or bury it under slogans? For Malawi, this might be that moment. The Munthu Kuzipha Azinamizila saga is more than just gossip. It's a mirror. It reflects how fragile trust is between the people and those in power. When leaders talk accountability, but citizens hear intimidation, that's not miscommunication. That's trauma speaking. The danger isn't just in whether Mutharika is guilty or innocent of any direct act. It's that people believe he could be. And that belief alone chips away at democracy. For Malawi to move forward, institutions must be stronger than individuals. Investigations must outlast political cycles. And leaders must understand that fear is not leadership. It's weakness wearing a suit. Ultimately, this story forces Malawians to ask hard questions. How much transparency do we demand? How much silence are we willing to tolerate? And how long before the Azinamizila label becomes normal political vocabulary? Because when a nation starts accepting fear as part of politics, the real question isn't who's being silenced, but who's still brave enough to speak. So there you have it, the full breakdown behind the headline that's got Malawi debating, tweeting, and side-eyeing every political move. Munthu Kuzipha Azinamizila Mutharika, Nde Mwumva. Akuti Ofuna Kuzipha Asamangidwe Zinali Uku. We've separated rumor from record, smoke from substance, and jokes from genuine fear. But this conversation doesn't end here. It starts with you. What do you think, Global Pulse family? Is this political scapegoating gone wild, or is there really more happening behind closed doors? Do you believe Malawi can ever reach a point where accountability is louder than fear? Drop your thoughts, theories, and solutions down in the comments. I'll read the most compelling ones in our next video. And if you've got evidence, insight, or just a sharp take, send it in. This platform belongs to you, the people who refuse to stay silent. Until next time, stay sharp, stay aware, and remember, silence protects power, but truth protects the people.